Okay, one sec, one sec. Now, I think. Oh, here we go. So we talked for 15 minutes for absolute no reason. Yeah, great.
Cool.
Right,
This is
so
Dado.
let's redo again, right? So this. So good, I just said that like 5 seconds ago. This is the first of our game development podcast series, stories about the game industry. And our very, very first podcast is with one of my best friends, and still a complete idiot, son Sheppard, on somewhere in France, on the mountains. And as we said, we don't have any.
Yeah, somewhere.
Nice.
Somewhere.
Yeah, nice one. And as we said, we don't have any plan for this stream. We don't know what we're gonna talk about. Because we want to be like Joe Rogan, right? So no schedule and nothing. What we know is that we're gonna talk about our experiences in the game industry and how we go here, what we did in the past, how we started, and there are lots of funny stories that the people inside the game industry can tell that from the outside you will never. You can never imagine that they are, that it's a lot messier than you may think. So yeah, son, let's start. I've got no idea what you're gonna say, so you take it from here. And actually, you can introduce yourself, and that would be okay. Great.
Yeah, so I'm Sam Sheppard, and I've been in the games industry since about 2003, so nearly as long as you've been alive, Dado. And I started at EA in Vancouver, where I worked on SSX3 and NBA Street 3 for consoles. And then I went to Spain, worked in Madrid, and moved on back to EA at Criterion in England, where I worked with you on Burnout Paradise.
Yeah.
So, awesome. And from there, went on to make my own apps and games for mobile, and made Star Chart, which has about 50 million downloads on mobile and VR. And then
still less than mine.
Oh, that's it. Humiliating. And now I'm making a virtual reality metaverse called Multiverse, and that's on the Oculus, so you can go and enjoy that. Meet us in there.
Super. I just got an error saying we are streaming at 4K and it's not good, but I think it's just okay. It should be okay.
Okay, well,
yeah. So
just minimize the screen. So
yeah, make it small. Actually, can I? Nah, can't be. I don't want to touch anything. It's gonna be it's gonna be a mess. Yes.
But Dada, what about you? How did you get in the games industry?
I don't remember. The story that I told everyone was I was 7 years old, and Italy just won the World Cup in 1982, and
Isn't that like?
And I was 6, 8, 7. Anyway, so Italy just won the World Cup, and I made my first video game about. It was a football manager game. You could only play the games that Italy played in the World Cup, and basically Italy always won anything because they won at the end, right? So the game didn't have a real gameplay, but I saw the free copies, and it was on BBC Acorn Electron. I don't know if
free copies. Can we just get that right?
Well, free. Yeah, one was.
And how many to your own family?
Yeah, no, all of them to my family. So basically, my uncle and my auntie bought 2. I don't remember if my dad bought one. Probably not, because you would say, yeah, it's bullshit. Yeah, but I think it was something like that. It was a free copies there. So that was my. That was my start. It was very early, and then for another 10 years, I really didn't do anything.
You lived off of the
free
coffee sales that you made.
Well,
10 years.
self-publishing. I just bought the cassette, like they got the tape thing.
Yep.
You just give it to your friends.
My first PC was the ZX81.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was awesome. Apart from the fact that we couldn't afford a tape deck, so I ended up saving up for 2 years to buy a tape deck.
Oh, it was only RAM. You couldn't save. Yeah.
Exactly. So I had to rewrite the games every time I wanted to play them. And we weren't wealthy enough to be able to keep the computer on at night. So in the evenings, we had to turn the computer off and I'd lose the game. And then you'd end up having to write the game again the next day.
Yeah, I remember
so you never got, you had to be efficient at game writing because obviously you need to be able to make a game that you could write in a couple of hours and then play it. And secondly, you had to... every bug you made ended up becoming a feature because you didn't have time to really change it.
Before 10 o'clock,
Exactly.
What was Cinderella was the girl that Midnight, the guy, it was Cinderella, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I turned to a pumpkin.
Yeah.
At midnight, my games disappeared, and I had to write scratch. Well, that was the best thing about it though, because you got to play the games, but you had to write them first. So it made a scenario where you sort of had to understand what you were doing or get good at it. And then I don't know. After that, we got the ZX81 into the ZX Spectrum. The Spectrum was amazing because it had like 8 colors or something. and then we got onto the the Amiga, and then. From the Amiga, I guess it just went up into different types of PC consoles, and finally, you started to get into the Sega and the Dreamcasts, and all of the other things that made it a real sort of experience.
And the PlayStation, right? The first PlayStation was amazing.
Oh my god! Yeah.
PlayStation 1. Yes. I remember I played the first demo of Wipeout, which is the first real game that I made. I did another 5 or 6 that were not worth mentioning. So I played that demo at the ECTS or something like that. 1995, 94, I don't remember, 95 I think or something like that. And I said, I want to make this game, and go no idea, a few years later, by complete chance, I ended up making the game. It was such an amazing experience. But the PlayStation 1 was such a pivotal moment in, I think, as I shifted the game industry from, it wasn't really PC based, but it wasn't really established. There was all of these games that ran under DOS and Windows, but it was a little bit unstructured. Yeah.
Completely. They weren't real games as such. I mean, by comparison to nowadays, they were, I don't know, completely different. A bit like, I don't know, what have we got to compare it with?
Burnout, Assassin's Creed.
I mean, I don't know. It just, I guess movies. You go back in time, you think about the black and white movies and where we are now, and the difference is so vast. And yet that was all done in my lifetime, whereas movies took hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that sort of exponential curve of increased quality, and in gaming that's just happened so fast for old people like us.
But though, like, the quality is, of course, like, if you go from the 8-bit era to these days, you can follow the trend, of course, that the quality has grown pretty much exponentially. But there's always, like the concept of the uncanny valley, which I always talk about that. See, the interesting bit, I think there is gonna be a time in which, so there are gonna be games that are like pretty cool to watch at any time in history, like for example Pac-Man or Tetris, because they're so simplistic that you can't say it looks rubbish, right? See, it's just nice, right? It just looks fine, it just looks okay. But I feel like from the late 80s to now, basically we are in the middle of the of the valley in which everything in 50 years time will look absolutely awful. Like there's no chance.
Yeah, and yet there are some games that you have to double take to look at and check, are they real, are they, like Forza has done an amazing job of getting to a point where screenshots and certain video moments look real and you can't completely tell the difference.
Yeah,
I mean obviously you can if you study it, but if you just take that immediate glance, it could be a real photo or a real video.
Yeah, and but photos and videos, photos, yes, we got the uncanny valley. Videos maybe like, well, especially human faces where maybe.
Well, that's it. It's when it's organic versus non-organic. Because if you get into the organic side of things, we're still so uncanny. It's laughable. But if you're looking at the more metal properties, I mean, even property visualization nowadays, there's some amazing things coming out on Unreal Engine and things like that.
Yes, exactly.
Or even in VR.
Well, VR a little bit, yeah, but we were talking before. Like the interesting thing, like if we take a photogrammetry, a photogram model, okay, they have like 60 billion polygons, right? But that is like if it's if you're from far enough and if it's like with the correct lighting and stuff, you cannot tell from if it's real or a 3D model. But when things are moving, that is where it starts to crumble apart. There are lots of small details like particles and like dirt and smokes that you can't simulate yet. In fact, like we were talking about that just a few hours ago. If you there are two routes that you can take. If you wanna have a beautiful model and you make it procedurally, you go a lot more control and everything is a lot more structured, but it will always look a little bit off compared to a photogrammetry model because they don't have the enough. It's about non-random or random details, like a little bit of dirt that you only got in certain parts.
Or a broken tile, or something like that.
Yeah, there are a lot of there are still a lot of variables that we need to fix in order for a good artist starting from scratch to really achieve the same visual as a photogrammetry model. Really, I think we're way off that.
I think, but again, I think there's two or three things that make something work in games, because the other thing is you could look at something and you can say, that's uncanny, or that's unbelievable, I don't believe. But again, the whole point of games isn't necessarily to be believable. You don't necessarily want to. I mean, Fortnite isn't trying to look realistic, but it doesn't stop it being successful or popular or great. And Minecraft is even less realistic and even more successful in some ways. So what is it that you're looking at? And I think lighting has a big part of it, and animation. If you can make good lighting and good animation, then you're 90% of the way there, because your brain will start believing it, whether it looks real or whether it doesn't. If you can make it have those core elements of animation and lighting, I think, which is what our human eyes are sort of attuned to more than anything else, people start to believe it and fall into that world. I remember when I was, 12 years old, I was playing one of the, one of the old fighting games. I can't remember the name of it now. It was a
Tekken.
Really. Yeah, no, it wasn't Tekken. It was one of the other ones. I can't remember it now. But I used to dream it. I'd wake up in the middle of the morning or night thinking, oh my God, I got this most amazing dream, because I dreamt it because it felt so real. And that was due to the efforts, not on the visual graphical side, but on the lighting of the setting, and then also the animation.
The animations,
because those characters were beautiful and the animations were amazing.
Mortal Kombat? No, that was all like
no, it wasn't any. I was 12. I wasn't allowed to play evil games like that.
Really? Yeah, you were 12, so it was like 1962, right?
Yeah.
You play Asteroids. But yeah, but those are the two peaks of the Uncanny Valley, right? There is the Pac-Man, and there is the peak that everything is sort of cartoonish, and then there is the other peak, which is everything is totally photorealistic, and you cannot
but I think that's one of the key points, is trying to make something realistic. Unless you're making Forza, it's still not worth it. I mean, you look at Modern Warfare or Call of Duty or Warzone, and you play those games nowadays, they're stunning, absolutely amazing. You got the Xbox, what is it now, 20 or X or Z or B, I can't remember. You get a PlayStation 5 and you start playing those games, they're absolutely stunning, but the visuals still aren't realistic. They're not
they're not realistic. No,
they're just good enough to make you believe that what you're playing immerse you in it, which is the other thing. And that's where VR, I think, goes a long way towards achieving stuff, even with simplistic environments. So because the most mass market VR device is a mobile standalone device using a mobile phone chip set, you can't achieve anything close to Modern Warfare. But because of the fact you're in the environment and you can move around and your head can go in different directions, you can crouch, stand, move, all of those things make it so much more believable and add that level that is, I guess, nearly more important than the detail of reality.
Yeah, absolutely right. I remember playing the first Oculus DK1. It was the first prototype that came out, and you remember there was that Tuscany house demo, and I remember I mean, that for me, even like, was that 10 years later now, so more or less 10 years later, that is the best experience that I've ever had in VR, probably because it was the first one, everything was amazing,
most impressive.
But when you walked into the house and when you took the goggles off, it was like it was really a shock. You said, "What? I'm not there anymore." And the pixels were big, like a square mile and stuff like that. But none of that matters.
But that's what made me, decide to do something in VR, because when you go in and you experience the Tuscany house, and you see that your brain is instantly just teleported there, and you start imagining that you're in that environment, you think, well, the future has got to be that. It's going to have to be that. Now, maybe today we're looking at mobile VR devices that are the equivalent of a BlackBerry phones, or even before that, a brick that you've got to carry its own power around with. And maybe that means that we're sort of really far away from it being amazing. But you've got somebody like Zuckerberg who's plowing money into making the hardware better. Currently, there's more people hired at Facebook working on Oculus and AR and VR than there are on Facebook.
Really?
And you've got, they're hiring like 600 people at the moment. Yeah, they've got 600 jobs open in the Oculus division in hardware, software, AR, and VR. And the amount of money that he's pushing into it, we're going to end up with ski goggle style VR headsets within years. And then beyond that, just like he's announced the Ray-Ban stories,
I saw that, yes.
That's obviously going to go further, and that's going to become the other extreme, where how can we get VR in a pair of Oakley wraparound sunglasses? When we have a VR environment that is as good as we currently have, or even better, maybe streaming off of the cloud, or maybe rendering on your PC locally, streaming on the Wi-Fi, who knows? But you're sitting there in a situation where you can just slap on your glasses and you can be in a different world, or you can have the overlays of AR in it. And that's extremely powerful.
I think so, because I think everyone that
and that is going to be the future.
Yeah, I think so, because everyone that I know that experienced that first Tuscany demo, it was so touched by that I mean, if you are a human being, you say, well, this is it, right? And what's really interesting is that he has VR has got like 3 boom and busts, right? You remember it was like HTML VR in the late 80s, early 90s, late 90s, let's say. that was like completely ridiculous, right? Because that was just
I played a VR demo in the mid-90s that was basically a role-playing game inside a dungeon, killing rats with my sword. And I was blown away with it then, but I wasn't blown away with it to the point where I thought this is going to work. Whereas when I saw the Tuscany demo,
that was the Tuscany demo was the second boom for VR. And it was very interesting because it looked like nothing could stop VR. I remember going into what was the show, E3, was that 2014, 15? There was like a couple of years which basically VR, every game, everything was just VR. If you're not on VR, and then like amazingly a year later everything stopped again. And that is so fascinating. But I think Zuckerberg is looking for the very, very long run, and I think that is very clever because he goes bumps in the road,
because so few companies nowadays can look at long term. Everybody has to make a quarterly earnings report that says they've made another $1 trillion and everything's going up. But Zuckerberg's willing to invest his credibility, his business. And if you look at what he's achieved since he bought Oculus, I mean, it's astounding. I didn't think we'd be in a situation where we had something like the Quest 2 today. I thought that would be another 2 or 3 years away. But we're already there thanks to him. And we're moving further and faster. And I can only imagine that he's going to be announcing some absolute crazy stuff this week. And another couple of years, we're going to be seeing, I don't know, not the Quest 3 or 4, but maybe the new device, version 1. And that's going to be more along the lines of the Ray-Ban, but meeting maybe ski goggles. That's what I envisage. And when we can have that level of interaction where it's ski goggles and you can just interact with it without having to worry about the weight of the device, without having to worry about the performance of the device, and you can just get high quality visuals into ski goggles and VR. I mean, I'm convinced that will make trillions. I mean, my son, who's 17, about a year ago when I was playing with him in VR, he came out after playing a first-person shooter we were working on, and he said, look, I mean, I just want there to be better quality games. If they were bigger, if they were as good as they are in console, I would never touch a console again.
But I think for the general public, the turning point will be when VR is transparent, because I think there is the misconception of you look like a dork with those things on your head, right? Especially, I mean, what is quite interesting is that in business environment, which you think they shouldn't even be there because they're so serious and everything, in the business environment it's very successful. And it's quite ironic that it's not successful in the gaming environment, which was like, it's the natural thing, right? If you expect, I don't care if I look like an idiot while I'm in the house by myself.
Well, there's two funny stories there. One is the first time I showed people VR, everybody was scared of getting into it. But as soon as they were in the VR device, they were so immersed, they forgot to worry about what they looked like on the outside. They didn't care whether they were making a fool of themselves because they were in VR and they were doing their own thing and there was validity to it. So they didn't give a toss. On the other hand, you've also got the other story, which is, things need to be better. We need to get to the point where it's the watershed moment, the iPhone moment for mobile phones. We haven't got there yet. It's obviously coming, but it's not there yet. I mean, having said that, the Quest 2 has sold, we think, about 10 million copies. So you're in a situation where the estimates are increasing. And 10 million isn't insignificant.
Yeah,
10 million
number.
Is pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, how many PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X there are? Not that many more, right?
Between 70 to 150 million, depending on the platform, is my understanding. So we're dealing with something that's only 10 times less than the biggest console.
Are you sure? I mean, that was true for the PlayStation 2 and not, but I should the latest. I mean, nobody can buy a PlayStation 5 anyway these days. So surely that they haven't got the numbers.
Yeah, but they've only made 3. Haven't they made 3? I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they wanted to run the Dado experience.
Yeah, 3. Yeah. I've been waiting to buy PlayStation 5 forever now. And yeah, no, but I mean, 10
I've had one
millions.
for a few months.
10
They're
millions
awesome.
are in
They're
the
so
same
cool,
order of magnitude. And then, like, see, the interesting part is the big guys. Now, none of the big guys are really putting a lot of effort into making VR games.
Well, you say that the big guys aren't. The big guys aren't, but they're starting to. I mean, Oculus has been working, obviously, with what's it called, Disney, to get the Star Wars licenses in. So even though it's not a big guy from a studio point of view, the big titles and IP are appearing. You've got what's it called, Ubisoft have been making VR products all the way through, and then you've even got, I think Oculus Studios was licensing Medal of Honor, I think, to get that into VR. They showed that at the last expo. Then you've got people like, the guy that runs TikTok that's just bought Pico. So Pico is now going to be competing with Facebook, because obviously TikTok and Facebook are competing, or Instagram. So now he's bought the Pico mobile VR headset and is going to be pushing that big time. I think that we're going to see something really interesting happen over the next few years. I also think that the revenue numbers from some of the game developers are going to come out, and we're going to be shocked by how much money they make.
Yeah, because we have the inside the stories, and you show me the numbers that are mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, there's estimates that we can make that we've done on our side for what people are making in VR, and the numbers aren't small. Saber and the developer of Population 1, the Battle Royale game. So we're in a situation where Facebook's buying the products that are being successful. They're obviously going to plow more money into those titles. They're going to make the hardware better. So the next iteration is going to see even better hardware and even better visuals on the games. And it's going to be all funded by Zuckerberg. Now, to compete with that, boss of TikTok's going to have to throw money at it. He's going to have to buy studios. All of that is going to run into the VC's eyes, and they're going to have wet dreams about the amount of money they can get if they jump on this bandwagon. And suddenly you'll have an over subscription to VR yet again. I mean, what I'm hearing in the back channels is that there's a lot of interest in metaverses and in VR. And that's where the future is, because there's going to be so much interest in being able to, own that and do that. I don't know. I think it's going to be massive. I think that it's a little bit like self-drive cars, a mobile phone being used by a woman who was on a bicycle in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and she was biking down the bike path on one of the streets using a mobile phone. And my brain just went into meltdown. It's like, what's going on? Now, mobile phones are now at the point where people are using them on a bike as they drive through town. And that was nearly 30 years ago. Well, maybe not 30, maybe 25. I'm old, but not that old.
No, I think it was 30, right? I remember early 90s, it was when they started appearing. Yeah, they were big, but
Yeah, and then you've got it nowadays. Everybody's got a phone, every single person. Now, if you imagine the fact that Facebook is going to continue to license Ray-Ban, and you're going to get headsets that cost $300 but can do more than a current Quest, and they're both AR and VR together, everybody's going to have a pair of sunglasses that can do that. There isn't a single person in the world that won't afford. If everybody can afford to buy an iPhone or an Android phone and have those in their pockets, why not have it all on a headset that you can have as many screens as you want with, that you can plaster your bedroom, your house with TV screens and content. I mean, it's games and directions, and have these sort of conversations that way.
But I think VR, we still have a problem in a sense that it's a wearable thing, right? And I don't know about you, but for example, I'm wearing my headphones now, and I can't wait to take them off because I don't know, at some point they are uncomfortable, right? So anything that you wear, but you can hold your phone and you don't really care. I think
everybody wears glasses. I mean, I'm not meaning necessarily glasses for sight, either sunglasses or glasses. Everybody in the world has a pair.
Yeah, but
we're all completely comfortable putting those on.
It's like the watch. Everybody could wear a watch, but like the smartwatch didn't really take off that much, and I think it's just it's like something that you have to use it, rather than if you could pick it up like a mobile phone.
Well, obviously, we all want to live in Star Trek and just walk into
just walk into an hologram, right?
I mean that's the future. I mean, there's no question about it. If we can have a scenario where we're seeing things without having to put anything on, then obviously that will win it all. But I mean, that's the end game.
50 years in the future.
The chip in the back of your head, Matrix style.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the other one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then again, who do you want? Which manufacturer do you want to create the chip that you're going to get inserted into your brain?
Yeah.
Do you want Elon Musk, honestly?
Yeah. I was thinking about that.
Or Android? I mean, the number of viruses that came out on the first Android phones. Do we really want to be riddled with virus on the implant in our brain?
Yeah. No, that's always
going
to be.
Said Apple. Apple would be the only company I trust.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure nowadays. Nowadays, Apple's getting a bit sloppy since Jobs popped.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, but and so, also
yeah.
The other thing is the locomotion, right? I mean, as this current state, the locomotion is the elephant in the room, really.
It is a massive one, because the other thing is we want to get rid of the controllers in VR as soon as possible. But you can't get rid of the controllers because the controllers are the best way to move. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So there has to be other hand signs. I want to teleport there.
Yeah.
Point and say teleport. And bang, bang. And that's not that. Those things don't work. So we have to have, I guess, the ability to pick up controllers and not necessarily use them all the time, but have them there. I don't know. Yeah, there are elephants in the room with regards to VR. And it's not mass market today, but it is a hell of a lot of fun. Today I'm building a zombie shooter inside our app, Multiverse, inside the MetaVerse app. And I'm just running around shooting zombies with my friends, the co-developers in that. I mean, that's just so much fun. And it's in virtual reality. And you know what? Yeah, Call of Duty has better visuals. But if we could just get a few more features into that, it's going to be just as much fun, if not more. Yeah. And that's only because of the fact that it's in VR and immersion.
Yeah.
I mean, running around the corner and having a zombie jump out at you and having to shoot it and having to reload by pointing your gun down to pull it up. And, oh, God, that's just the panic you get. That moment is amazing. And I think that those things are undervalued when it comes to the immersion factor of VR.
Yes, it's strange because it looks like everyone that tries VR has got an amazing experience, right? Everyone, but somehow they are afraid to repeat it. Like, there was Sarah was watching Netflix on VR on the Quest for quite a long time. It was about for a month. She was basically, instead of watching on the big telly, she watching on the Quest and say, yeah, it's just nicer, right? But then there is a point in which, even if it's an incredible good experience, VR saying, I don't want to do it anymore. I really don't know what is that feeling. But there is that retention, and I think maybe it's just because it's hard. Like if I switch on my phone and I just click a button, or I just put my face on the phone, right? VR, you need to prepare. You need to say, okay, right, just put it now. Oh, the batteries of the controller are off. Oh, I need to do the software update. Oh, I need to do this and that. Yeah. That's leading. I don't know, but there is something that's quite strange. You got the most amazing experience, but very low retention rate. I don't know.
Well, you say that, but the retention rate on Quest is significantly higher than on the Gear VR. And in fact, the information that I've heard from inside sources suggests that you're in a situation where the Quest is delivering Rift immersion and Rift engagement from the point of view of purchasing of games and the spend. Plus you're dealing with the Gear VR adoption, because Gear VR was adopted by millions of people because it was free. And I think that what they've hit with and functionality. Now, obviously, as it gets better, that's going to improve. But yeah, it's pretty good now. I mean, I've had some experiences in VR that I'm never going to forget.
Yeah, right. But I think
never. But then again, there's experiences on console that we're never going to forget. I mean, you remember Crackdown, right?
Yeah.
That's still have been some of the best gameplay moments I've ever had. I mean, I was in there with Pete Hawley playing Crackdown in his mission. I was ahead of him, and he was playing through his version of the missions, and I was basically just tagging along. And I remember at one point he had to drive this truck through to the other side of the town or something like that, and I just stood on the top of the truck with my rocket launcher and just was firing things mad as we were driving through the town. And I think that still is one of the moments where I was just laughing giddily like a schoolboy at the huge fun I was having. And I think that's what makes games so compelling, and that's what we're looking for, isn't it? As game developers, what we're looking for is the ability to create something, whether it's in VR, whether it's on mobile,
those moments, right?
Console or PC. We want to create those moments that people will remember for the rest of their lives because they just had the most fun, the best fun, and that's our goal, to deliver that.
Yes, and going back to the Gear VR example, I think the Gear VR, actually now that I think about it, well, I always thought about it, but the Gear VR is the single reason why there was the second bust in VR. It's like everybody bought that stupid thing, and it was rubbish. And now
they should have not launched the Gear VR, not launched the Oculus Go, and just come out with the Quest instead and waited.
Pretty much. Because I think they lost millions of people there. Those stupid 360 pictures that they don't work.
Well, not just that. No, being in a 360 photo isn't my idea of VR. It has to have depth. It has to have 6 dots.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's got to have 6 dots. And hands. And the movement. I mean, the hands was genius. But I think the thing that I also remember was Google. I mean, Facebook went out and bought Oculus for $2 billion or something stupid. Yeah? And Facebook were like, what? Yeah, no, Google was like, what? That's ridiculous. You're paying $2 billion for VR in the form of Oculus. And what they did was they just went and made the cardboard, and everybody got these daft cardboard headsets that made your eyes hurt within 5 minutes, make your brain hurt within 7 minutes, and made you want to vomit within 8 minutes, and never want to go back into VR again. And then they managed to Google. I don't know how many headsets they shipped to that, but I think it was like 100 million cardboard devices, which was a great way of ruining again the VR market, giving people that bad experience.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are people, especially like the seniors and people that are not into technology. Those are, I mean, there is a irreparable damage. That stupid thing is just killed the whole market almost. Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, in a sense, I think 3D TVs will have done that when we finally get holographic TVs, because people went out and bought these Samsung 3D TVs that you needed the glasses to wear.
Yeah,
and that didn't work because, well, it wasn't great, but also, it was only good for certain types of experiences, and most people hadn't created content for it.
No, exactly, yeah. No, and I think the...
He said, software is king, because you gotta acknowledge that no platform succeeds without software, and that's where games come into it, because the adoption of a platform because of a game or a piece of software is what makes it powerful. And I think that's where VR currently is a place where if you go on, there's actually a huge number of really good experiences to be had. And I think that's only going to be continuing and getting better.
I think the 3D TV, they go a similar pattern as VR. They will like every 5 or 10 years, they start to restart it again. Yeah, let's do this, slightly different one. Now it is whatever, right? But it never works, right? It's just And
Oh.
yeah, they got a bit of a bump, and then yeah, shit again.
Yes.
Forget about that. Yeah.
So what do you think the next one is? Let's forget about VR and AR
Yeah.
and those things, because obviously they're still miles away from being properly mass market. What do you think the next one is? Is it going to be something that Nintendo comes out with? What do we?
I think it has to be something that Apple comes out. I think they are the only one that probably cars. I don't know, something like about flying cars. Cars that cars they rent themselves. They've already done it, and it's gonna be a matter of time until everyone will just rent.
Well, that's another thing. I've always said in my brain the idea that robots will be humanoid and you'll have like robots walking around your house. That's nonsense. I mean, the first robots that we're going to have, the proper, intelligent robots, are going to be cars. They have the most value. I mean, having a robot in your house, sure, maybe it can help you do the dishes, but really, is that what you're going to pay for? No. Vacuum cleaner. Yeah, my mum's got a Roomba.
Yeah.
Climbs up the cart and eating the future of tech. But I can see the car. The car is the perfect example of something where, you know what, driving can be a lot of fun, but in 99.9% of the circumstances, I'd rather just relax and lean back and have a rest while it gets me there. I mean, most times driving nowadays, you're not driving along a sports highway. You're not driving along fun mountain roads where you can speed. I drive along mountain roads daily, but I can't speed. I'll die in an instant. And I think the that reality that driving has become mundane, where it used to be fun, that is a really big incentive to try and make I think vehicles the next, or the first proper robot that we all own.
Yeah, I agree. I think vehicles, for sure, is gonna be, and it's gonna. It's a huge industry, and of course, like people, it's not that it's gonna be one day all out of the blue say, oh shit, there are self-driving cars now, we are screwed. Of course, like it's gonna be a process that has already taken 10, 20 years or whatever. So of course the big guys are slowly creeping into it, and I think like one misconception of like the debate that robots or AI is gonna steal every possible work for humans. I think it's bullshit, because nothing happens overnight. It's not that one day everything.
Computers didn't steal the work of humans.
No.
Computers made it possible for us all to sit in offices and work in offices.
Yeah.
And do better jobs and make computer games and do things. So I think there will be people who lose jobs because of self-drive cars, and that will suck. And nobody will want to, the problem that we've got in England with the HGV drivers, where there's not enough people to drive trucks around the country. That's, that problem will be gone because self-drive cars and self-drive trucks will fix that. But there will be people who lose their jobs. At the same time, those people are going to be able to do other things. And there are going to be more interesting things for people to do. I mean, the jobs that you can do nowadays are a hell of a lot more interesting and exciting than the jobs that you could do 100 years ago.
Yeah, but I don't think there is gonna be people that lose their job because of that. Because the leading time from where you think, okay, we're gonna be big truck driving the sense, right, which is now, right? People are talking about now, to when it's gonna happen, even if it's gonna happen in 2 years or 1 year, right? Like you're gonna adapt, right? You know that is happening. Then those jobs they're gonna be transmuted into something else. They're gonna be managing the robot from their laptop, or
the repairs of the self-drive trucks that get punctured. There's going to be so many more things. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there's that. I don't know about Apple. I don't know what they're going to come out with that is really transformative in the next few years. I've been slightly disappointed with Apple over the recent years. I've not seen what they're doing behind the scenes, but it doesn't to me seem like we're getting blown away. There was a whole load of hype around the recent talk that Apple was doing, and did you see the little video they did, the AR, where you can move your phone into the Apple logo.
Oh yeah,
and it
yeah,
goes
yeah, yeah.
to the universe with the date, and there was nothing.
Yeah,
that didn't
that was
result in
no.
something huge. That was just a bit of hype, and I think that Apple have not really, either that or they're waiting because they know that they need to deliver something better than just the equivalent of an Oculus Gear VR.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for the proper thing, which could well be the case. I think the Ray-Ban, stories from Facebook, I think they're going to be a gimmick because people don't want to take photos all the time. And people will buy them, they'll have fun with them, but they'll forget to charge them, they'll forget to use them. There isn't enough versatility in use yet. Maybe if it could do chats and conversations, then that might be a changer. But I think just taking photos and posting to Facebook or Instagram isn't really powerful enough. I think the next one is going to be, I think we're going to see Nintendo release something again that is going to impress people. I think that their attitude of always doing something a little bit cheaper but more innovative, and then linking that, because they're one of the few companies in the world that understand both hardware and software. That's what makes them so amazing. Right? Microsoft did a relatively good job of making a usable interface for the Xbox, which was, I think, better than the original PlayStation side, but the hardware was lacking the first few times out.
That's very terrible.
I mean, it was powerful, but it broke down all the time and it had issues. And the red ring of death.
I remember that. Yeah,
I had 3 red rings of death. But Nintendo, what's so amazing about them is they understand both hardware and software, and they get the interaction from Samsung, fantastic hardware producers, amazingly cheap and powerful TVs, but the software on those things
we worked with them, and actually they trust us to do the filters for the cameras, and really,
no, but exactly. I mean, the fact that they don't understand software is what's so shocking. And I think there's a lot of hardware companies that don't understand software.
I think I lost you.
I've lost you.
Yeah, I lost as well. Yeah. Okay, we're back. Yeah. So no, they say they don't understand software, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but I think Nintendo with because so basically, okay, there was Iwata before, which was this legendary founder, but Miyamoto is really like the father of video games, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think you need to have somebody like him, because if you have executives, they're just there for like running the business. It's like the.
Let's not talk about games executives. That conversation. He should.
Yeah, exactly. It never flies, right? I mean, like, I think like Miyamoto is the only one who kept making games for 40 years, right? Like Sony and Microsoft, they wanted to start doing this bizarre crossover between movies and I don't know, like it's I think the pure joy of playing a game like a children will play is only Nintendo. PlayStation, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Naughty Dog, right? Uncharted, The Last of Us, they're amazing. For me, they're the best game ever. Well, but I have a lot more fun playing Mario Kart with my daughters.
Well, that's it. Yeah. I think the only ones that, I mean, Mario is amazing. I mean, just unbelievable. The fact that they can repeatedly release games that just blow you away and are just pure fun is magnificent. The attention to detail there by those teams and those people is stunning and wonderful to see. But I got to admit, though, that there's also Lego. I mean, Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
I do not know how many years of time I've spent with my son and daughter playing that. I mean, that's just got to be one of the most amazing experiences. Running around one of those worlds, being kitted out as different characters. leaning into the whole Lego universe of building stuff and yet just making it pure fun. I mean, that's, oh God.
That is the holy grail of game development, right? I was talking to some of our designers, right? How do you, like, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I've been making games forever, right? And I never seen a game designer saying, okay, this is a board, if you do ABC, it's gonna be fun. I mean, the secret of that, it was always like a mistake, a bug, somebody going off on holiday and leaving the stuff, whatever. Like it was always a consequence that you cannot predict.
That's one of the things that makes games one of the most amazing things to develop, because it is, you know, you can have game designers and you can have art directors and you can have people responsible for rendering, but it's the combination of a group of brilliant people together that makes something genius. It's not one single person. I've never worked on a game. I can say that the creative director was responsible for the genius of the game. Never. It's always a combination of bugs, of mishaps, of adventures on the weekend, and of getting together a bunch of genius people who think in crazy ways and letting them explore what they can do with the tech. I mean, that's the fun that we have right now playing and making games, is always, well, what happens if we do this? Oh my God, it does that. Yeah, we can do that with it. You get somebody looking at the combinations of knock-ons, and you just add a new little dynamic to that, and the offshoot is insane, and you get a whole new experience. Yeah, and that was one of the best parts of making games, in my experience, was just working with brilliant teams of brilliant people making the most amazing things.
But it's always a reaction, right? It's not, even if you're a team of geniuses, I've never seen anyone sitting down in a boardroom and playing and planning the fun of the game, right? It's always something that happens by chance.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you can't plan the fun. You can't even design the fun. You can design what you think will be fun. You can play it. You can realize you were stupid.
Yeah, like 10 times. And you still don't get it.
Yeah, and you can. I mean, I was developing a game with some guys in Denmark where I was on the board, because the game developers wanted somebody with experience from game development on board to help.
Wrong person.
Investors. Yeah, apart from the fact that it was the completely wrong person to choose, the conversations were quite stunning. I was speaking to one of the investors who had come from the Danish pharmaceutical industry, and he was asking the question, but you've designed it, you've implemented what you've designed, why are you throwing that away and rebuilding something else? Isn't that because you don't know what you're doing?
Yeah.
And I had to say, look, no, that's the whole point. You play test and you iterate, and iteration is where the I guess, to be honest, I think Nintendo do a hell of a lot more iteration than we can even imagine.
Yeah,
I think they iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate again. I mean, I think that's where the brilliance and the polish and the genius comes from, is doing something until you find something fun, and then reiterating upon that experience until it's perfect.
Yeah. And then you remember,
I know so many game teams that have been forced to ship a game too soon. And it would have been great. It would have been genius, but they didn't give enough time to bug fix. They didn't give enough time to polish, and they didn't give enough time to iterate.
Yeah. You remember, I don't know if you already joined the team, but when we started Burnout Paradise, we redid it 3 times. So like the first time was this strange sort of almost Need for Speed game that nobody really liked. The second time was like multiplayer races and stuff like that, and then but we literally started from scratch, like 3 times. Probably you joined about that time, right? When we started again.
So. I remember coming in and they were saying, well, I think we're about 3 to 6 months away from shipping, and I went to play the game and I was like, well, I remember thinking to myself, they obviously have a whole nother game somewhere else in 3 to 6 months, because the game I just played is going to take years to polish and ship.
Yeah. Yeah, you know,
So
like
that
you know, you always need to double the time frame, especially
yeah,
from the programmers.
yes, especially from certain programmers.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah, no, that I mean, Burnout was great, but again, in Burnout, you know, I can point to people that did genius things, and I can
Yeah,
even remember a couple of, you know, design ideas
I
that I
did.
had.
Yeah,
That
thank you, thank you, thank
yeah, exactly. That I
you.
can't. Oh yeah, you won that game. I forgot.
Yeah.
But do you
I
remember?
don't remember what I did. Seriously, I don't remember. I got no idea.
Do you remember that time we were working on the PC version of the game? We had a
Yeah,
game
yeah.
reviewer coming in to review the game, and at the last minute we'd worked out that it could actually work because we were doing controllers and we were trying to work out different PC controllers. And for the fun of it, we just plugged in the the Guitar Hero
Ah,
guitar
yeah, yeah.
and started playing Burnout Paradise with the
I
Guitar
didn't see
Hero
that,
guitar.
but you told me that. Yeah, I missed that
That
one.
was unbelievable. And then we got the game reviewer in from PC World, and he started playing, and we got him to play on the controller, and it was just the most amazing thing because you can't help look cool when you're holding a guitar, and then when you
Drifting.
control, yeah, drifting. But that was the handbrake, and the handbrake was on
Yeah,
the
the
guitar.
handbrake
What's
was
that?
in the
Yeah, and oh god, and it's moments like that again. I don't know how we came up with that. We weren't drunk, we weren't high, but somehow we decided to plug that in, and it worked. And you know, that's those moments of genius that happen that
Yeah.
are just spectacular fun.
Yes,
Well, we've been doing this for about an hour, so I don't know how much longer you want to go. I can obviously
We don't
continue
have
for.
any timing here. I don't know what you
I
need
might
to do this afternoon.
I might have to move from the hammock because it's too comfortable. I'm getting burnt on the side of my face.
Yeah.
So, here we go. There we go.
Yeah, let's go
Yeah.
inside. Can you jump in the
Inside.
swimming pool?
Yeah, I'll jump in the pool.
Yeah. What, you got your laptop or your phone?
I'm on my laptop.
Oh, your laptop. Yeah, jump in the pool with the laptop. Then.
Yeah.
No, I remember. I don't know if this is a true story of what, but the very first Wipeout, they had about 20 polygons per ship or something like that. It was like basically a triangle, right? And like they told me that basically the guy that invented that triangle, he was off on holiday. He had a 2 weeks break because he had his son was born or something like that. And while he was he was just programming in his house for fun, and he has this triangle going on a spline curve. And he showed it to the studio when he came back, and they made basically the first proper PlayStation franchise. It was the first video game that came out from Europe for the PlayStation 1, and they made the whole game by chance because that guy just was playing with this triangle, right? And so they kept the shape of that the triangle for that. And
that's the same with you. I mean, the success that you had with Paper Camera was
based Total Run.
What you did on 3 days on a weekend.
Yeah, and we were so involved in our game, which we should mention was the greatest game ever, which it never took off, right? We worked for about 1.5 years, something like that.
Yeah, we spent loads of time and effort building something that about, again, 3 people played.
Yeah. No, we got about
actually, a lot of people played.
30,000, I think.
There was a lot of people playing. The problem was the money and the server costs. But that's one of the things. The costs of servers is just outrageous. I think, actually, that's something that's going to happen in game development over the next 5 years. We're going to see a democratization of server costs to a point where game developers can build games for thousands of people, but not hundreds of thousands, and do that in a scenario that costs them nearly nothing.
Really?
I think that's going to I think we're going to see server costs plummet because at the moment cloud server costs are all, so it's it's Google and it's Amazon and it's IBM and people like that trying to make money off of enterprise consumers, well, not consumers, but enterprise companies. And they obviously can afford to spend a lot of money on servers, but game developers can't. And there's a lot of games out there that are suffering because the cost of servers is too high, and therefore they can't really develop that. I think that that's going to change over the next years. I think we're going to see companies come out and make it cheaper and affordable for small game teams to make multiplayer or even massive multiplayer games without it being ridiculous. And it's only if they become successful they'll pay. Just like with Unity, just like how Unity democratized the engine.
Oh yeah. But what do you pay with Unity? Do you pay a subscription a month and that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in Unreal it's a bit more expensive because
per developer.
Yeah, you don't pay anything, but you pay 5% of the royalties.
Pay 5% if you make over $1 million.
Over $1 million, yeah. But it's 5% gross. Well, before Steam or whoever else takes their cut, which is a little bit of a robbery, really.
It makes it about 8%.
Yeah, it makes about almost double because
and the other problem in that scenario is you're in a situation where, as a game developer, let's say you make a successful game, but you could have you got to tell somebody else how much money you're making, and if you want to keep it quiet and you don't want other people to know that you're onto a winning formula, you can't do that because it's Unreal. The license means you got to tell Epic how much money you're making, and they can always steal your game idea and recreate it. I'm not saying they would, but it's in a situation where you got to give your information, your secret information out.
Yeah, but
necessarily something you want to do.
But
obviously, if you made $1 million,
but you do it anyway in Steam, right? Or whoever else. Yeah, they have that info anyway.
The platform holder always knows how much
always knows.
That's one of the things. I mean, obviously, Apple is going after Spotify because they can see how much money Spotify makes.
Yeah.
If you look on the App Store, there's like a couple of times a month where Spotify is the number one grossing app on the App Store, and that's the day that they take the money. and Apple can see that, and they know that there's huge amounts of money in that. So of course they're pushing for people to use Apple Music instead. And it's those sorts of areas that get a little bit risky. Obviously, first-party companies like Facebook with VR need to make some amazing products and games to help establish the platform. But there is this sort of double-edged sword to that, because at the same time they're then competing with other developers, and they have, they don't have the same problems. They don't have to pay the same amount to somebody else. Any percent they pay, Facebook pays has to go to Facebook, whereas with us we've got to pay 30% or whatever it is to an app store holder, and that money is money that developer doesn't have to pay. It's a sort of unfair advantage, and I think that that's coming up as a problem in the games industry that people are talking about.
Yeah, like all of these, also like Epic versus Apple case as well.
It's fantastic. I mean,
for us it's great because they take the battle for us, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you, Apple. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm not so sure that that's not going to backfire and just mean that there's going to be 1,000 different stores that we as developers have to put our apps and games up onto.
That is the thing. Yeah. To be honest, if you look at our success on the App Store, to be honest, if you ask me, do you want to take 30% more by having to do all the marketing, the planning, and all this blah blah, you will never get anywhere near what you get with their ecosystem. And equally, Android.
That was true at the beginning when we started and when we had our success with Star Child and Paper Camera, but that's not true anymore. And nowadays you've got like 400 apps launching a day. Apple's not featuring a fraction of them. Yeah. They're not doing the marketing for those. The majority of those apps die.
They're dead.
And if you look at Clash of Clans or Candy Crush, the amount of marketing dollars those companies spend on top of the 30% that they have to give is insane. Most games for mobile now cost more in marketing than they do in development. You can make a game 10, 20, $100,000, but you can't make a game and succeed unless you can also market it, and the marketing's a hell of a lot more than development. I know of games where the marketing is 10 to 100 times more.
Really? That's massive. I remember the guy from what's the name? I think it was King.com, like the Candy Crush site, right? I remember they were saying 50% of what they get they reinvest on the market, and that was basically $500,000 a day. They don't spend
the other $500,000 on development.
No, but the game costs $500,000. That's it. Well,
or less.
Good stretch, exactly.
Yeah. So, and that's the problem. So you've got games out there that are making huge amounts of money, but as soon as they're making those huge amounts of money, 50% is going to marketing, and then the other part is going into the investors' pockets. It's not going back into the game development.
Yeah.
So the game doesn't get better. I don't know if you remember World of Warcraft and EverQuest and those things. They were making so much ridiculous money at one point, but the game wasn't getting particularly better. It wasn't improving on a daily basis. It wasn't, nowadays Warzone by the Call of Duty team. That game is changing daily. There's new guns on a weekly basis. There's new levels. There's new missions. There's new, things, new characters. Things are happening all the time. So they're taking their money and they're obviously reinvesting a chunk of that back into game development. I don't know how much. I don't think it's anything like 50%. I'm sure that the marketing team gets the majority of the money they earn.
Yeah, but I think things will change, or maybe are changing, and the trajectory we can already see it, because you can have all the market that you want. You can buy all the billboards in Seoul, right? But I mean, with a fraction of the cost, you made PewDiePie playing your game, and that is worth $100 million that you would have needed to spend to reach the same amount of people, right? So I think nowadays marketing will change. I mean, it will change drastically.
Guerrilla warfare marketing is the next step. And that is what we're doing with the whole social media side of things. I remember for StarChart, we bought a billboard to see whether we could generate revenue around the Venus eclipse of the sun, where Venus went, or transitioned, not eclipse, but didn't eclipse anything. It transitioned, it went across the sun. And we bought a couple of billboards to see. I think we bought like 5 or 10, I can't know, it was 10 billboards in different locations around England on a good price that we got. And we thought, right, we're going to try and do it in one territory. We're going to spend some money. We're going to see whether there's an increase in revenue and how much increase that is, and is it worth it? And this was, advertisement in streets, physical advertisement, which is obviously dead. And we literally made a loss that week. We didn't make a profit. We made less money that week with the than we did the week before, the week after. And I think that, but at the same time, because we'd done that, because we'd put the billboards out and we'd seen the success of that with Google and Apple, who would obviously had to get their permission to use photos of the phones, we saw that they noticed us, and we ended up getting featured more by those companies as a result. So the end result was we made a profit, but it wasn't due to the physical marketing, it was due to the first party featuring. And that's the story that we still know is people download things because they have immediate access to them. It's that one click download that matters, not, oh, I saw a billboard or I saw an ad in a magazine. Or an ad on the TV, and therefore I'm going to remember to download that app.
No, you
and
never
most
do
apps
that.
don't have names that are memorable anyway. I mean,
no, or
if it wasn't for the new Twitter, I don't think anybody would remember Twitter now. The names that are out there are just completely crazy. I saw an app, an app for changing the backgrounds on Zoom was called MMHMM.
Okay. Well, the names are running out of combinations right now. But I think if you talk to a publisher or marketers, they say, oh yeah, but we have a great marketing department, blah blah, right? But then I thought, yeah, but I mean, if you don't have any social media exposure, you got nothing, right? You can buy as many physical things as you can. You can tell them, but I don't know. I just feel that, for example, for our game, we go the store, which we go in total 12 million followers, right? All the platforms. Of course, some of them will be shared, but I mean, to have that, like to go to a marketing agency and say, look, we want to reach 12 million people. It's gonna cost you $12 million. I mean, like, I don't know, 100 million. So
yeah, an insane amount.
It's insane about. So I really don't believe that.
No, guerrilla warfare is. I mean, what you've done with STORROR is brilliant, because you guys have started creating a community. You've worked with a team that already have a community, and you're building something that the community wants. That to me is a very powerful combination, and I think that that's where you guys have got the Kickstarter successful. There's a huge amount of things there that I think are going to make your game very successful, apart from the fact that obviously you've got the most intelligent genius coder in the world doing the coding work. But that to me is a big part of what is driving the success, and will drive the success of your title. And I think we got to think more like that. How do we link into things that really work as a game development team? How do we make games that people are passionate about? And that's the other thing that we should talk about.
Yeah,
when you make a game, you're not making the game for yourself. You're passionate about the game, but it's not for you. It's for the users and the community. And whenever we've launched a game, there's always been that when making a proper sort of AAA game at a game development studio, you're in this scenario where you build the game inside a closed box. You and your team make the game. You think this is going to be the coolest game ever. You launch it, and then it's no longer your game. It's the community's game. It's the user's game. And they help you define both what you do to it with DLC and upgrades, but also where you take the next game. Because they'll give you the feedback that says, you know what, this needed to be better, or this needed to be done. What you're doing with STORROR and how you're getting the community's feedback, the Discord channel, the Kickstarter stuff like this, where hopefully we're going to talk a little bit more about your game as well. Those things are going to be where there's real success, I think, and I think that's how you drive awareness nowadays.
Yeah, and I think for us it comes naturally to do the whole cycle, right? To share the whole cycle of development with everyone, really. And I think that is a huge shift from when we did the AAA games. The AAA games, until the very, very last day, that you go gold and you go in the shop. You can't say anything. Well, in fact, even after that, you can't say anything anyway, because there are 20 billion rules that you can't do anything, right? I can even tell my mom that I, whatever, like. And I think that is such a dinosaur concept. I think that those were like stakeholders that probably invested in some Patreon company that said, sign the NDAs and stuff like that. We still send the NDAs today when, we talk to various people. Okay, it's fine. But I think for us, as an independent studio, I want more people to know about the game. Why should they keep it secret and nobody knows about it? How can we...
No.
How can people know that I'm making a game if I don't tell anyone? I think for me it's completely the opposite now. Because in fact, like every day there is David, one of the programmers, he streams his programming things on Twitch every day. And what is funny about that is just like it's all, when you program, you do 99% mistakes and 1% that you go right, and you do your task at the end of the day, right? And people will think, well, shit, like they keep making mistakes, right? How can they make a game if it's like we work with the best video game developers in the world. It was, no matter who you are, it's exactly that. You just iterate, try things, and it's good. I've never seen anyone that say, okay, do ABC, okay, that's done, yeah, finish, ship it, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's so refreshing to see that David is not afraid to share his mistakes, and it's great, to say, especially because he's a young guy, and it's very impressive for me, because as a programmer you never want to admit your mistakes, right? Like, that is our worst attitude. It's like we think that we know everything and blah blah, but in reality I keep making mistakes, like probably between 30 and 40 mistakes every single day, and what pisses me off is that I keep repeating the mistakes that I just don't learn. But my level is pretty good, right? And I keep doing those things. And I imagine that if you are a shareholder and investor, you may think that is a bad thing, right? But I think it's completely the opposite. It just gives the human value, like, okay, these guys really doing that. The bad thing, okay, I know that there is a bad thing, that people, the casual viewer, will saying, oh, they're useless, they can't even write a line of code. So okay, that's the part there, but I think it's a natural evolution, and we I don't know, I think we're gonna get there, and naturally. And also I think because source code doesn't have any value at all, like, there's always secret, blah blah. It's bullshit, because your source code is what you learn from somebody else that made it public. I don't know anyone who came out by himself to how to solve a differential equation. I don't know, like, somebody would teach them, right? So like the stuff that unless you write some code for some, I don't know, cryptography things, some military secret, fair enough, it's secret, there's confidential information. We are writing some code to make some people jump, so really,
but I think that's also the problem. If you're investing $100 million into something, then the investors that may not know about game development are going to want to keep everything under wraps and have NDAs and let out the source code. But in your scenario, you're actually in a situation where, like you say, you're building stuff that you want the community to be involved in. You want to share with them what you've done. You want to make it cooler and better as you go along. All of those things are going to add to the value, and they're going to make it interesting for the people that are following.
Yeah.
I mean, the Discord chat you've got is huge fun to watch, and people are, polite and nice, and sure, you might make bugs on your code and show that, but you make bugs in the animation or in the other things. You were showing the videos of the animation the other day, and they had issues with it. I think the guy was falling over the box every time he jumped at the end. I was like, that's fun, that's cool, that's what happened, that's fair enough. I've just been looking, there's a couple of live chat things, so people do want to know more about your STORROR game, so we should listen to that, or listen to their advice and tell them a little bit more about how that's being developed and what's going on there.
Oh yeah, well we just I think I wanted to get Drew on board, but I don't think where he is, because I wanted him to join. Is one of the STORROR guys to ask you questions as well.
Oh, cool.
But to answer that, if you I want to have if you guys join the Twitch stream of Hits Games, you will participate to how we're making the game every single day. So there are so many, I don't even know where to start, because every day in the Discord channel there are about whatever, 100 messages or whatever. This is it's pretty good. So you really need to, because we are making everything public, just follow that, and and hopefully you will understand that it's a genuine try of some people that want to make a great game. One of the comments that I read the most, with the most likes, is please don't rush the game, don't make a quick buck and release something crap. I don't even know how you would do it. For me, that is inconceivable. I mean, partially because I'm a perfectionist, so I cannot tolerate anything that I don't perceive as perfect, right? Okay, let's say the best that I can do, okay, because perfection doesn't exist. But I don't understand that. Well, I do understand, because if you think that a normal video game company would make a game, then you think, oh, they're gonna do Pac-Man with jumps on two things and they're gonna sell it for £30 or whatever. Actually, maybe that is one of the things I want to give across is we are trying to make the best game ever, and we got the best parkour team in the world, and we got some of the best developing the world. We just didn't wake up yesterday and say, let's gonna make a game, right? We made games all our lives. So I would like to, I don't know how to, but just start a process of trust. I mean, like, we're really trying hard. I mean, I work like 20 hours a day, but
yeah, but that's because you're fixing bad code.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't do anything right. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I'm getting from the Discord and the stuff that you guys are posting. I get a sense that there's an honest attempt to make a great game, which would be fantastic. I think the community get that sense. I don't think that's the question. I think it's more, how do you achieve success when you spend all your time chatting to people on live streams? That's what I don't know.
That's another thing that. Yeah, no, that's that balance. But I think if you think about how much productive you are during a day, I'm a believer that, I mean, I work long hours, but I'm productive for about probably 2 or 3 out of 18, right? And but I try to be as productive as 18 hours. Okay, I say 8 because people are gonna say, oh, you don't need overtime. No, don't worry, it's only me, because I'm stupid and nobody else is doing this. It's only me. But anyway, yes, I always try to find a way to increase the productivity, but I haven't found it yet. So if you guys know a way of doing it. But I think it's gonna be the same for everyone, right?
Yourself. Yeah, I mean, I think, but that's the other thing about game development. You've got crunch. It's an industry where they talk about crunch a lot.
Yeah.
And the reality of crunch is quite interesting, because the majority of game developers got into game development because they're passionate about it. And the majority of people who are passionate about something and making something want it to be as good as possible. So crunch is an inevitable part of game development. We all do it. I mean, the problem comes when it's forced upon you. And that's the problem that I see in the games industry. What you're talking about, you working, choosing to work for as many hours a day as you do, that's your choice. That's what you like doing. Yeah. That's fair enough. And that you should be allowed to do that, because that's what you do. But I think that getting into a situation where you're being forced to.
Yeah, horrible. Yeah.
Since I've run my own company, I think it's, I've asked my TD twice to fix something after hours.
Yeah.
Because
Ollie
to fix it live. Yeah, Ollie.
I'd say fuck off, right?
No, I'm having a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
by the way, Ollie is the greatest programmer ever, for people that are in the chat that don't know.
Yeah, Ollie is awesome. He's mine, hands off.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, the zombie shooter that we're working on in VR is made with Ollie. So Ollie's the main programmer on that one.
Yeah,
that's going to be genius. But that whole passion for development is what makes it so great, and that's what I love about the games industry. I've worked in television where there was passion, but there was also huge egos. And not to say that there aren't egos in game development, but the egos are less. The passion is more, and I think that's really powerful. I think the other side of it is, you've got to allow people to have a job. I mean, people who are employed to work on games shouldn't be forced to work extra, but people who want to, and care should be allowed to, as long as it isn't hurting themselves.
Yeah, my personal experience was when I started with the Wipeout team, I was so freaked out to be part of the team because that was my dream, right? I didn't even look at the watch, and I didn't look at the time. I just stayed there, and I was actually playing the game more than programming the game because I had so much fun. I actually stayed there playing the game, and I really liked it. Yeah. So right, but because if you're in a certain mindset and you're passionate and you want to do it, it's fine. And my first salary was a pretty good one. Was the £30,000 for my first job, which was good. But it wasn't like 100,000, 200,000, right? So for that salary, I was working probably like for twice as much as that, right? But I didn't even care. I mean, it was not about the hours played, the hours worked, the money of anything. It was, because you just felt it. When I moved into EA,
but what was the passion? Gotcha, go on. You moved to EA.
Yeah, no, I have to say, before there is, EA always treats me very well. So, but when I went to EA...
That was the contract you had to sign that made you...
No, for real, yeah, they treat me well. But when I moved there, I already made my dream games, right? As I was already sorted, right? So... I was always passionate, but there is a level in which you feel that, it's forced upon you. And I remember there was Helen, my line manager, I don't know if you remember the game from EA, and she was asking me, it was one of those crunch, right? And she was asking me, which day of the weekend do you want to work, Saturday or Sunday? And I was like, I'm not even gonna answer. I mean, like, I'm not gonna work anywhere. So but you can't, right? Everybody needs to do the overtime. I said, no, sorry, I can't be bothered. And I didn't realize at the time, but the people they were younger than me, like they were in the same situation like when I was like a few years earlier. They were forced. They weren't able to say. So there was this, but it wasn't as good as Sony, because in Sony nobody was forced to stay there. We were just a bunch of complete maniacs. I mean, the team was amazing. Everybody was crazy in there. EA was a little bit more, because I feel like they started to having students. They just go off of uni, stuff like that. So it was a little bit more serious. And that was bad, because that was saying, right, choose if you want to work Saturday or Sunday, or sometimes both, right? And what was really funny about that, it was that, they did the appraiser thing, right? The stuff that they judge you every 3 months. And there were like, there was like, what was the thing? Like significantly below target, on target, above target, significantly above target, right? So I've been there for 5 years, right? And each time I was on target. It was never like anything, but really I never worked. At some point, I don't know who it was, like they told me, I was like, Dado, can you please come before lunchtime? Probably it was you.
Dado, I know you're awesome, but please show up before lunch.
Because I was coming in and putting my stuff on the desk, and then going out for lunch with Martino and Manuel, right? And I was very bad, right? But I don't know why, but my appraiser was always okay. But you remember there was the guy Chanji, right? He was like crazy, like I was there in the morning and he was still there from the night before. I need to finish this billboard because my appraiser, blah blah, and he always got like below target. Oh. Yeah, and he was working like crazy, right? And therefore
Change was very hard work.
Was a very hard work, right? And he was so like fixated by that, right? And I think like psychology, they use that quite a lot. You should never really and say, who cares? Just go home again. Doesn't matter. But yeah, it's the job. You work for EA for criterion, the best team in the well at the time was like technologically we were like I think between the top 5 team in the world. Like you work here, okay, you have the key to work anywhere else you like or you dream of. So, but
that's okay. Not really fair when the person you're talking to really is passionate about the game and wants to make a great game.
No,
and the fact that they're forced to work is wrong. That is wrong. I mean, the reality though is that EA was great. I loved working at EA. Went back there. I quit and went back, but each time, eventually, I thought, well, no, this is not what I want it to be. This isn't about the product. It's about execs telling you what to do.
Yeah.
And I was the senior producer, and I remember that it was like, well, this isn't. They don't care about the product in the way that I care about the product, and they don't have the same focus on the product as they do as the team does. And obviously, it's a business and it needs to make money, and that's fair enough. But there were lots of decisions that didn't make sense, and I found that was one of the best parts of moving to be an independent developer. Is you can take that passion that you've got and you can make it work for you on something that you're really passionate about. We were lucky enough to be successful, so we're still at it. But I don't know. I think crunch is difficult because I get the fact that passionate people crunch. I do it myself. You do it yourself. But at the same time, it's not something one should ever force on somebody.
No,
ever.
Never. Yeah, I don't think that I ever told anyone like, oh, can you do something that works extras in all of my life? It's because I feel bad anyway. It's because you know that you are an idiot and you can work 20 hours a day, and because you know that, you realize there is something that nobody else, unless you're doing your own stuff, nobody else will want to do it ever. So you are very, very self-conscious. If you're not in that position, but you are a rubbish medium manager in one of those big corporations, you don't have that vision. Say, why don't work 24 hours a day for the great cause of the company? It's like, I don't know, going to war, right? Why should I risk my life for some king that I don't give a shit about? I don't know. Yeah,
I think I'd like to ask, because there's a few people watching now. I'd like to ask if any of you got any questions for Dado.
How many people we got watching? And they're like, it would be good to see if the stream is still going on.
I think it takes a while for the stream to update. We'll just see. But a few more questions before we finish off this time. I think that'd be cool. So let me know if there's anything. I'll ask him, or you can get him to ask me. I think he's that side, isn't he? Which side are you on?
This side.
That side or that side?
I think, I don't know. This side.
You're up there.
There.
I'll ask him. On the other side, in the meantime, I got one question for you. When is STORROR going to launch?
STORROR Parkour Pro. Probably 2027.
Okay. Cool. Can I get a pre beta?
Well, you already have, because and actually you should play the game because it's already.
I should.
It's
I
already.
Need to do that. How do you deal with the scope and deleting ideas while still coming up with more? That's from Box Lane Productions. That's a brilliant question, Box Lane. How do you deal with scope?
I think you should answer that, Stanley.
Yeah. So as a producer, that was my main job, is basically managing, delivery of the product. And I think that the thing that we used to do from EA is a term that I quite like and I still use, is bang for buck. You sit down, you look at what you got, and you look at the bang for buck. Now, how much is it going to cost to develop? How much coolness is it going to give? So those things have a huge effect on the decision that you make for what you add or what you take out. There has never been a single game or product I've launched where I've delivered everything I wanted to deliver. So You could never expect that. That just it's not possible. So first of all, get your expectations right. It's never going to be 100% of what you want. It might be 120% in a completely different angle and 30% of what you initially wanted. But that, you know, that's just luck of the draw. There are some features that you just realize are too big to deal with in this game, and you have to leave to next game. I mean, I've seen that multiple times where you see, well, this feature is awesome. We feel like we're 90% of the way to delivering it, but the last 10% is going to be another 300%. So there's no way we're going to get that done, and therefore we're going to have to move that to the next product. I think the key question, though, from Box was, how do you deal with the scope? Personally, you deal with it by crying.
Yeah.
Crying a lot. You go sit in the corner and you cry and you cry and you cry and you pull your hair out and you go cry some more. You wake up in the middle of the night screaming. There's so many things that we wanted to get into Burnout that we didn't get in. There's so many things that I wanted to get into all of the games that we just didn't get in. At the same time, all those games, you had like plus 90% Metacritic rating. So they were, you know, amazing games, blockbuster games, hugely successful, well reviewed. It doesn't always hurt. Sometimes less is more, and getting rid of the rubbish and just keeping the core brilliance is the best way to think of it. You know, sometimes it's better at the end of the game to cut things than it is to try and fix the bugs, because you won't get those bugs fixed in time, and always release it as an update if it's worth doing. And not, I mean, releasing a game that's polished is more important than releasing a game that has all the features. A feature-full game that crashes and has bugs in it, nobody want to play. A game that has promise but is missing a couple of features, people will play. So that's, and then coming up with more, you always come up with more, and you just have to write down the new feature and list it against the bang for buck for the other features that you were going to build but haven't yet built. And if it's worth more and it's cheaper, then you do that instead. I mean, that's basically it. And it's sort of a little bit cold from a point of view of calculation. You know, it's like getting the calculator out and getting the accountant in and seeing how much money you've got and how much left can you do.
The Gantt chart.
Yeah, the Gantt chart. No. Yes, that's what you do, and that's how you tackle it. And at the beginning of the project, you split everything up into, you know, you got $100. Where are you going to spend your $100? At the end of the project, you look at it, you say, right, we've spent $300. How are we going to ship this thing?
And we haven't finished yet.
We've got left. Yeah, we haven't finished yet. I mean, that's pretty much the story of everything that we've ever made. Yeah. So I think that's about as good an answer as I can give. Okay. Ben Meekin says, super specific question, but do either of you have an opinion on Beyond Good and Evil 2? Being in the pipeline for 14 years because they didn't want to short sell it. I have a huge opinion about that, which is Beyond Good and Evil, the first game, was amazing. And my guess is that just like so many games that never ship or are on the shelf or shipping for a long time, is you can't stop it from launching unless you know it's a failure. And it's better to launch a game than not to launch a game unless you know that what you've made is rubbish and just isn't there. If the game that they've got at the moment and they haven't shipped it is not there yet, then that means that they've got some serious problems with the core idea of the product. If they're not shipping it because they just want to make it bigger, better, more perfect, then that's a waste, that's a shame. People would be enjoying it and they would have been ready to buy number 3, 4, or 5 by now. Yeah. I think, I mean, you got to ship stuff. If you don't ship it, all you're doing is masturbating. And really what you want to be doing is making love. You've got to get into the scenario, ship the product when it's good enough to ship.
Is that the reverse?
Get it there as quickly as possible, because that benefits everybody.
Is that the oh yeah, no, sorry, I think I was talking over you. Is that the reverse psychology of cutting the losses, right? You know that example in which you have £1 as a price, okay, and there are 2 people that bet some money to get the £1, okay? So I get 1p, you get 2p, right? So you increasing your bet, okay? But every time that you put the bet, the money stays there, okay? So of course, when it gets to 50p and 50p, you will just say, okay, I'm gonna stop, because otherwise I'm gonna spend more than what I'm gonna have. But because you don't want the other person to that you lose everything and the other person loses less than you keep going. And usually they run an experiment, like you are willing to get 40% of a loss. So basically you spend £1.40 to get £1 in order to not to cut the loss. Very, very few people could cut the loss at the price, and I think that is and most of the dynamic must apply.
Yeah, it's psychology. I think the other one about what is it, Beyond Good and Evil? Just that's a Ubisoft game, isn't it? And Ubisoft are an extremely passionate bunch of people who make great products. To a certain degree, I'd trust them. Yeah, it's different from different teams. The Duke Nukem team, nah. I wasn't expecting that to be an amazing game. But at the same time, Beyond Good and Evil, I think there's a good chance it could be amazing. And maybe the team's just small enough, and maybe they're good enough that they're going to get it right. So, got another question here. Oh no, we got just comments saying from Box. Thank you. Yeah, makes sense. And the polish versus feature rich is a good point. Ben says that's an interesting take on it. Thanks. And Raj says agreed.
Raj,
so yeah,
I think I know Raj.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, from my point of view, the question that I've got also on STORROR is, 2027. I don't think you want to wait that long.
No, I was kidding. Anyway, it's gonna be 2023.
Yeah. I think getting it out there when it's good enough to make people enjoy it and be proud of it is the most important goal. Yeah. And then by 2027, hopefully you're on STORROR Parkour Pro 3.
Yeah. No, I think it's gonna be like, the plan is that, I don't know if we're gonna call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, but the plan is to evolve into sort of like a Tony Hawk sort of franchise. It's not gonna be one-off, and I think the most natural
Wait a minute, evolution. Are you saying that you want to make an EA type experience where it's going to be like FIFA and new ones?
No, that was an Activision film. No, I think more like
Pro 2022.
No, more like a Fortnite, right? There is only one Fortnite, but there are seasons and new things. But the game is one, and I really like that. I really like that concept.
That only works if the first game's successful.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, if the first game nobody's played, then
the first game failed, then there's no point in doing that, because the next game is better to have a new one. But like Star Chart, I mean, I've made Star Chart now, like I said, for 12 years. We haven't made a Star Chart 2 because there's been no point. Why make a number 2?
Yeah.
When we've got 40 million downloads, before they can enjoy it. And I think that's again a psychology that an indie developer can take. Obviously, you can take it if you are Epic as well, but other companies can't always do that.
Yeah, no, totally.
Box has another question for us. New games seem to have quite a lot of UI. What's your rules for a clean, polished UI? So clean, polished UI, I'm not going to talk about because I hate the idea of a clean, polished UI. It never gets there. Polished UI, obviously, you need to have something that's functional. The key point of UI is function. If it can look good as well, great. But for example, GTA, if you go back and you look at GTA, when has the UI been good on GTA? And has rubbish UI ever stopped it making trillions of dollars? No. So I think it hasn't impacted the game experience. It hasn't impacted the money it can generate. UI is a misnomer, and too many teams and too many companies spend way too much on UI. Now, UX is different. UX is completely different. That's the experience of playing, and that comes down to the controls and the mechanics of controls, and those have to be polished and slick. But the UI, ultimately, it's not part of the game. It's something you do aside from the game, especially if it's like launch game and quick game and save game and settings. I mean, that really doesn't need to be slick and polished. If it's the inventory, and you're talking about an RPG game that's got to be built with an inventory, and the inventory is therefore a key part of what you're doing half the time, which is moving one sword from one part of the inventory to another part of the inventory, or into your left hand or your right hand, and then equipping other things. I think that is much more powerful as a reason to spend time and money making a beautiful, polished UI. I mean, I've been very proud of the UIs that we've made in our games, and
I really need to have a better setup because I can't read the comment and it pisses me off.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm reading the comments while talking, so sorry about that. But Flit just made me stop halfway through a sentence because I was reading it. He says, definitely looking forward to 2 Aura Parkour Pro and 3 Aura Parkour Pro in 10 years' time. Awesome. Good for you. Me too. I'm looking forward to that too. Oh, by the way, I think there's something we have to talk about. There's an elephant in the room that we want to talk about. STORROR on VR. Now, obviously, you know I'm a passionate person about VR. And just recently, what was it? Stride launched on VR?
Yeah.
And oh, yeah, I really, I've got to play that. I haven't had time to play that yet.
Son,
we got to talk.
Inside the trader numbers, can you share how much you think he made?
Yeah, I can. If you hold on a second. So what we've done is we have a spreadsheet that talks about our estimates, and this is independent developer estimates of sales of VR titles. So we have insider information from our own team on the games and the products that we've already launched, and we have insider information from teams that have launched that we're friends with, who have told us how much money they've made. So we have a relatively good hold on how much money a VR title makes on Oculus Quest, for example. So the numbers from Stride have come in. It's been out, I think, let me see, I got the numbers here. It's been out since the 5th of August, so just over a month. And it has sold, we think, approximately 80,000 units, which has made it revenue of $1.4 million.
That's very good for a VR title. Actually, it's not even one of the best. But it's just launched, so it will go far more than that.
That's on the Quest 2 only. That's not on any other platform. That's only one platform. So there are some really good reasons to consider bringing STORROR to VR, in my opinion. Now, Stride is slightly different. It has guns and you're shooting things and you're jumping up and down. It's a lot more like, what's that game released from Sweden? The running game. Oh God, my brain's just died. What's the one? The beautiful visual game. It's parkour game on console.
Dying Light.
No, Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's Edge. Well, we were at EA when they did that. Yeah.
Yes. So I think, Stride is a very interesting game from that point of view. I don't think it delivers what your team and your community are wanting, which is much more parkour. But it still has huge success, and I think the VR version of it could be awesome. So I'll leave it there. I've dumped that on your head. $1.4 million in 1 month.
Yeah.
On Quest only. Sorry. Wow. Yeah. Often we're looking past the HUD anyway. Exactly. So Raj says, yeah. UI doesn't seem to be as important. I mean, the HUD matters. Those things are part of the core game. I remember one time we had to rewrite the HUD on SSX3 because it was taking too much of the frame. But we didn't want to lose the quality. So we had one guy work on it for 2 months and just rewrote the whole HUD in C++. Let me say, yeah, that's it. Ben says Mirror's Edge. Well done, Ben. You rock.
Yeah. One of the worst memory I had for EA, it was when I think it was Ian. He was working on the HUD, and it was basically him on the desk, then 7 people around him. There was a producer, executive producer, product coordinator, online manager, assistant, whatever, like 7 people that didn't do any code. Yeah, behind Ian, right? So one of them said, like, just do it, like, move it 1 pixel on the right, and then the other guy, no, up, and then be like that for half an hour, and Ian was just basically moving this thing up and down, back and forth, so just be a little bit blue, more blue, and I was like,
how much did that pixel movement cost?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure at the end they say, nah, quite not like it, let's leave it like that. Like, that was like, I was just in front of him and I say, I can't believe, I mean, they're all adults and, you know, like very senior guys, how they don't realize this is complete insanity. Like 750, little bit, nah, push it, put it back. Anyway, yeah.
What you don't realize, Dado, is that the only reason for that was that Ian had a bunch of donuts on the table next to him, and they were all secretly eating at the same time. No, the thing I was going to say is we got people, yeah, again, talking about like HUDs and stuff, and those things are really important, but it's not the joy. The joy comes from the gameplay experience, and that, yeah, I think we got to remember when you're doing this is, where is the joy? What is it that people really want to experience? And that feeling. I remember when Assassin's Creed first came out, and I was looking at the video. This is before it launched. This is when the announcement trailer came out for the first Assassin's Creed, and I was completely, oh my God, that looks amazing! But there's no way they're going to deliver. There's just no way they're going to be able to deliver something that does that in a game. And then when it finally launched, playing it, and yeah, it wasn't the same as the trailer pre-rendered video, but the experience that they gave, the core raw experience, the joy I got from playing the first Assassin's Creed, that to me was like, yeah, they nailed it. They nailed that experience, and that was powerful. I think there's very few companies and teams that can do that. Ubisoft have repeatedly shown that they can, yeah, and I got a huge amount of respect for a team that can do that. They can set out in advance and say, this is the experience that we want to create, and then deliver something that delivers upon that experience. I'm hoping that that's what you're going to do with STORROR, personally.
Yeah. No, this is the thing for us. We.
What is that, Dado? What is that core experience? Can you define it? Do you have a one-liner? Is there an elevator pitch? Can you tell me the X? Sorry,
I think you see, I had the X and I forgot about it. But I had it. You know, in one of the 20.
The X was on the table next to you, and you got up and you left.
No, you know, like one of the 20 billion business plan that we made. At some point, I had I got a good one that nobody liked. Okay, I had STORROR Parkour PRO is like Tony Hawk without the wheels. Then nobody liked that. I think it was genius. I just feel say, it's Tony Hawk without the wheel. No, I think
Tony Hawk without the wheel. It's Assassin's Creed without the murder.
Yeah.
Mirror's Edge without the enemy.
The edge. No, I think it's not an X because I don't remember it. But for me, the main thing is to convey this sense of adventure and friendship that these guys had. I think for me, there must be a more genuine experience in video game that is not shooting guns, because at the end of the day, 99% of the unless they're racing games, but even some racing games they go guns for some reason, right? Yeah, let's say a racing game. There are few games that are strictly like you just enjoy the experience and not just shooting something. That could be quite powerful.
I agree. I think that's one of the things. Yeah, games that aren't about murder and death and all of those things are extremely powerful. I think the problem I was hearing is actually just the other day I was talking to somebody on I can't remember where now, but we were talking about VR and the fact that all VR games are about shooting, and can't we have a VR game that doesn't have guns? And you're right, but at the same time, if we were doing some stats based on the revenue estimates that we made, and 7 of the top games in VR are shooting.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
And the others are action.
Yeah.
Because that's what people want to do. So you have that double-sided sword of, SSX3 was a very fantastic game, hugely highly rated, but at the same time, EA found it difficult to make a decision to invest in a new SSX after SSX3 because the numbers weren't there. So everything eventually comes down to that business problem of how do you make it work? Is there enough revenue to make something valuable, and can you spend the effort and the time, or as I guess in the business world they say, the opportunity cost? Because if you spend $100 million making SSX4 and you're going to make $110 million in profit, but if you make Need for Speed 27, then you make $500 million profit.
Yeah,
and I think that problem keeps on coming up in the business world. One of the great things about being independent is you can make your own decision about what you're going to do, and you can make it regardless of whether it makes money or loss.
Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't think you do a parkour game to maximize the money.
No.
I think you do a parkour game because we are passionate about the culture and the community.
Yes.
And of course, you want to do enough games to pay for your next breakfast, right? But if I really and the dinner but if I really wanted to make money, I would have gone for some cryptocurrency scam or something. I don't know. Like,
we talk about crypto quickly.
Yeah, quickly.
That's something I know has nothing to do with STORROR or game making or anything like that. But I do just want to ask, because everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
What is your idea about crypto? I mean, is there any validity to it, or is it literally just bullshit?
Yeah, I think crypto is 90% horseshit, but the 10% that is not is extremely interesting. I read actually.
What is that?
Yeah,
NFTs? Is it Bitcoin? Is it what is it?
No, I think it's
in-game transactions.
Is the blockchain basically. I think the concept of the blockchain, is amazing.
Used for what?
Well,
used for what? How's where is that going? What is the value?
I think like
we got.
What was that?
While you think of the answer, I'm just going to read the question or the comment from Box Lane. He says, or they say, another way of looking at it is how you still have the shooting mechanic hidden in non-shooters, like football and in STORROR Parkour game. You'll still have an aim and shoot for something. That's an interesting.
Yeah, actually, yeah, okay. Let's switch to that then.
Even though you're not shooting. Yeah, because Bitcoin, another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
When we're not streaming. That is interesting, because I think that you're right. I mean, from a point of view of there's always a center of a screen when you're doing something.
Yeah.
And whether you're in VR or in 2D, you still got the center of the screen as the focus, either where your destination is, or the gun that you're aiming, or whatever it is that you're doing, or where you're landing with a parkour jump. So I think that that's probably a good example of why shooters and things are so prevalent, because actually it's a simple thing to do.
Yeah.
You're pointing something. What are you doing in a game? The core thing that you're doing is you're moving a camera around and pointing at something. Yeah. When you're pointing at something, what do? You shoot. I mean, to be honest, that's probably the simplest mechanic of any game ever.
But I think I was talking about that with Matt, the game designer, and he said, he used an interesting term, dopamine fix. So every time you shoot, you go like that. Your brain, it just feels good. So I just shot at the thing. And if you don't do any, if you just walk around, you don't have. Okay, you just walk, right? So I think like finding a way to have the dopamine fix to that when you shoot, but maybe when you jump, or when you do something that is interesting, or that stimulates your brain. Yes, I think that is the secret sauce. Just activate that, and sometimes it's quite interesting to see how that is achieved in a way, I was playing. What's the name of the card game which you play football with cards? Rocket League. Yeah, Rocket League. It's quite interesting because you look at the game design of the game and you never play the game. You say it's the most stupid idea ever, right? You will never give sense.
But a long time to bring up the courage to download and buy
exactly, right?
But when I did download and buy it, I was like, my God, I should have done this years ago.
Exactly. So that is, I think, the thing that we should have said. But can you really play parkour game? Well, probably not if we just make a normal one. But if we find that secret ingredient, and I think like he said, shooting like a ball instead of shooting a bullet. Yeah, that is very powerful. Yeah.
You're shooting a parkour person.
Yeah. Okay. No. Throwing them. Yeah.
Throw them, and then they're gonna run.
Yeah, I think co-op multiplayer. It's quite.
Oh God, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, I honestly, now that I've been working on VR and social VR and making it the MetaVerse type experience, I don't ever want to do anything that's not social.
Yeah, there's no social.
It's not interesting to me. Whether it's co-op or whether it's multiplayer or I don't know, it just social is for me the future. I can see experiences that I could have in single player that are worth having and games I would buy that are single player I would buy, but I don't think I'm ever going to work on something that's single player again if I can choose. If I can choose, I think it's always going to be co-op or multiplayer.
Yeah.
And the co-op versus multiplayer thing is really interesting dynamic because co-op I've always found more compelling. Multiplayer that involves PvP, I'm a little bit less interested in. And one of the, Burnout social online gameplay was loads of fun.
Yeah.
But, and it was PvP.
Yeah. But, for me, it was lacking though.
I still think it lacked something because, yeah, exactly. It was lacking. And I think that that's something that we've all evolved out of. It's like winning something is such a, there's a team of 10 or team of 20 or whatever it is playing and somebody wins. That's a really cheap mechanic. Now, I've done it for the last zombie game we've done. We've only done it in a month. So it was the quickest thing we put together and we're going to change it in the future. But making something where not everybody can play their own game in an online multiplayer game is wrong. One of the fantastic things about, for example, Warzone versus Fortnite and some of the other games is there isn't just one winner. If you play Warzone, you play the open world experience. What's the Verdansk Blood Money or whatever it is experience? Everybody gets to play their own game, and at the end, it doesn't tell you what rank you were. You don't get a rankings list with you number 17 on the list of 100 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You just get told where you came from the amount of money that you made. But how you make that money, you could shoot people, you could find treasure chests, you can complete missions, you can do tons of different things to get the money, and you can have your own game without ever meeting another person that's multiplayer. Or you can go into the battle zone area and you can have a complete crazy battle with other people one-on-one all the time. I think that is genius, and I think that's the future of multiplayer, is to let people overlap and cross over in what they're doing on a multiplayer experience.
Yeah, I think
I would love to see that.
Yes, I think the multiplayer charts, like the top charts,
leaderboards.
The leaderboards, they are so in the past. They're gone because at some point you realize you go 100,000 players and you go only one of them that is at the top. It's not sustainable. Yeah.
And it should be about every player having their own experience, and every player should be disappointed at the end, or every player but one shouldn't be disappointed at the end because they didn't win. Instead, every player should be rewarded for what they did do and what they did do well. I mean, one of the things that I always wanted to do with Burnout was take it on to the next level and add, missions that overlapped. So you had it like a race. The race was to get from A to B, but that wasn't the only way you could win. You could win by completing other challenges along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe your challenges were smash down as many lampposts as possible. Somebody else's challenge was knock you off the road, take you down. Somebody else's challenge was make sure that you do the biggest jump, that you can get airtime during the race.
Yeah.
And for each of those, you'd get points. And if you had different challenges while racing, you could actually win up the race, even though you came third, because you had more points than the person who came first.
No,
and
that's
that,
totally,
to me,
yeah.
That to me is where you have to go. And then at the end of the match, you can reward people for what they did.
Yeah.
You could say, Dado was the best at getting airtime. San was the best at smashing lampposts. Raj was the best at taking out other players. Box Lane Productions was the best at getting top speed. You know, then you can reward people for everything they do that is like powerful and what they experienced, and acknowledge what they experienced and what they chose.
Although I think like that is a huge conversation, probably not for today, but like of no rewarding everyone for basically you don't care if you win or lose anymore. I think you still need to give that little push, that little extra that people wants to get on. If like one of the school thing in which they do the race, but everybody is a winner, which is a fantastic idea, but I think it's when it's too unbalanced, it's just basically nonsense.
Absolutely. So it mustn't have no meaning, but it must have meaning. For me, it wasn't about winning; it was about the takedowns. That mean that everybody wants to play the game in that way, and as a game developer, it's my job to acknowledge that other people want to play this game differently. Let's reward them all differently. It doesn't mean that everybody's a winner. It does mean that there are some people who win, but how they win and what they do to win doesn't necessarily mean, I could be the winner because I got the most points, but you achieved X and so-and-so achieved Y. I think to me, that's where game development is going. And that's what I'm seeing with these big open world games. I mean, Warzone is a brilliant example. I think this first iteration we'll look back on and see as a sort of a Pac-Man version of the future, because games of that nature are going to come out more and more, and the overlapping cross-play. The fact that I can be in Warzone and somebody can get a challenge to kill me, but my challenge could be to get across the map, to get to another place. And that means that they know where I am, but there's always a 20-second delay or an update on my position. So they've got to chase me while I'm chasing my time across the map. And in the meantime, somebody else has got to get to the same destination I'm at to do something else. And therefore, they've got to shoot me when we get there because we're obviously on different teams. To me, that's hugely powerful. And that crossover is something that I think really is powerful. Where we've got Box Lane saying, I think funny achievements for different types would work in the right game. Yeah, you're right.
Totally. Like I think isn't that Uno the game that everybody's got slightly different objective, and there are some that is a very cool mechanic.
So Box Lane wants to be the most useless in a round. No, he doesn't. He says reward the achievement for being the most useless. Completely agree. And you know what? I think that's acknowledging understanding the data so that we can, as game developers, acknowledge what the player was. The one that camped the most. The reward for camping. The reward for
chicken. Don't be a chicken.
Reward for falling over. Reward for running away from every fight. All those sorts of things are great. I could agree. And we need to get into a place where we're working with the player to let the player play how they want to play. Because again, it's not our game. We're not dictators. We're the curators, and the players are the guys that want to define the game for us. And we've got to help them make that game as good as possible.
Yeah, that's it. Should we finish?
I think we have to finish, because otherwise I'm going to get a suntan that's going to make me pink for a week.
And they've been one side.
I think I've got meetings I've got to go to too.
No way, boring. All right. Okay then.
Yeah.
Super. Right, let's
thanks for
finish this.
Thanks to Box Lane Productions, Raj, Ben. Who else have we got? Flit. Let me see.
Can we see the names or only
Yeah,
the
Josiah
comments?
CT, Autistic Led. I'm just reading up through Osman, no, Oman, Jasmine, and Manus Nickeltones. And anyway, I can't see the others because my eyes are getting too glary from the sun. Thanks for joining us. It was lovely to chat and have you guys listen. Hopefully we'll be back. Dado, thanks for having me.
Catch you next time. Oh, by the way, before you go, can you just mention that the t-shirt that you had, it was by the worst game that we ever done. Yeah. I mean, if you download that game,
VR product,
yeah, we made that. I mean, like 5, 6 years ago. Yeah, it was rubbish. So don't ever buy that game.
it was a fantastic product, but it was made for the VR, the Oculus Go, and therefore has no sales because the Oculus Go is dead.
All right, guys.
We should remake everything that we did and put it all into VR.
Yeah, including Mogul, and then I'm gonna leave it like that. We're gonna talk next time. All right.
Okay. All the
See
best,
you later,
guys.
everyone.
Catch you later.
Ciao.
Yeah.